Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Well, the break was nice while it lasted, huh? Don Jr. was on the stand today for the Trump civil trial as the beat goes on. Interesting stuff. He cracked a joke. The judge said, "Welcome back. Glad to see you back." And Don Jr. said, "I'd say I'm happy to be back, but the Attorney General would sue me for perjury." To the laughs and guffaws. Yeah, give it to him. He at least seems to have a sense of humor that his dad completely and utterly lacks. And, don't get all worked up over it. It's a joke. And he's right. If he commits perjury, the Attorney General will be all over him for that one. So, again, we'll cut him some slack. The Trump team wanted to do this PowerPoint describing the incredible awesomeness that is Trump.org. The prosecutors, the Attorney General said, "What are you letting this in for? It wasn't in discovery, and it's going to lead the witnesses." But the judge is giving a lot of leeway in this article I'm reading on CNN. Basically, you know what? I'm not going to have this case overturned or overruled by rejecting a document or their presentation. And remember, he is the judge and jury in this. So, he basically implicated later when the Trump team was arguing about relevance when the prosecutors brought something up during cross-examination. The judge said, "We've had a morning full of irrelevance, and now you're questioning relevance?" So, which basically tells you the judge is fine letting them waste 4 hours of his life with a PowerPoint presentation because it's not going to impact his decision. He's only considering relevant information to the case. PowerPoint's not relative. It's not relevant to the case. So great. If it gives you the warm fuzzies, fantastic. There we go. If it helps Don Jr. avoid a perjury trap, great. We're not so concerned about that as we are the judge finding against Trump and fining them an appropriate amount of money for the crimes that have been committed. Ultimately, that's what we want. Okay, so come on down. Let's see how Don Jr.'s testimony went today. How does he feel? Well, the energy around his testimony. Let's leave it at that, rather than what he feels. The energy around it. Well, strength. Oh, they're building the strength of the case. Trump.org, strong organization, the biggest organization, the strongest one ever. Yeah, blah 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 blah. With the government. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is, they can't argue the facts, so they just pound the table type of thing. I think the prosecutor built a strong case, and the defense is trying to build the strength of their case. But when their lead step, their first foot forward, is on irrelevant information, or information that's not relevant to the case, it's not building strength for their defense. It's basically showing that they have no bullets. And again, this is why you don't want, in some ways, be thankful that this is a judge trial and not a jury trial, and the judge seems to be impartial. If this was a jury trial, people might get all wowed by the PowerPoint and not rule with the law. So, okay, so we've got strength versus the courts. They're trying to project a strong case here. What's underneath it all? Knight of Wands. Expect we're going to see more of this systematic building up of the mythology of Trump.org. This is probably, again, driven by Donald. Donald Trump has built this mythos about him from the 80s on, about him being this successful businessman and yada, yada, yada. And this case is just basically taking that down. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to rebuild that mythology that he's developed. Yep, and there he is, right there. In the past, we've got the devil. This is Trump just basically lying all the time, just conning people, misrepresenting what Trump.org is. And it was funny. Don Jr. made a comment that he started off life as a bartender, and then during 9/11, he heard the clarion call, and went running to work at Trump.org. like that was a noble thing or something along those lines. I think I heard that on Midas Touch. But this is all things Donald Trump and his influence with Trump.org and his influence on this case. It's all about that. Current situation is the Six of Coins. Again, they're trying to diminish the financial part of this. I'm not quite sure what saying everything what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that this is an incredible company, and so the high valuations that they were saying were accurate. But the problem is, that's only half the data. If you're only focusing on the top line, then what about the taxes you weren't paying and all that? There's no good answer for this because, the coin has two sides. It's heads or tails. If you choose heads, that we have high valuations and the company's worth billions, then on the tail side, it's like, then why did you keep devaluating your property when it comes tax time? You know what I mean? So they got their work cut out for them because there's no good answer because the answer leads to fraud. But also, okay, so here's the other thing as I look at those scales. This is also the judge throwing him some crumbs. It's going to be a big money settlement, and he's got the scales of justice right there. And what does it matter if he lets them do a PowerPoint presentation? There's no jury to influence. And I doubt the judge considers the testimony to be irrelevant. So throw him some crumbs. Another 6. That was interesting. We're going to get to 666. So the overarching feeling is victory. And I think it's victory on both sides, to be honest. I think Team Trump is excited that they got to put Don Jr. on the stand and show their PowerPoint presentation and just show the world how awesome Trump.org is. And, they're going to ride this PowerPoint presentation to victory. I think the prosecutors in this case, the Attorney General's office, they've already won the case. And when the judge is explaining that he's letting certain documents in and he's letting PowerPoints in, it's because he doesn't want this case to be overturned on appeal. And he said so as much to the Attorney General and the prosecutors in this. The lesson to be learned is the Eight of Swords, and that's exactly what I was talking about. The judge doesn't want it. He's giving a lot of leeway to Team Trump, but he also said he'll give a lot of leeway to the prosecutors too. So if the prosecutors got 6 weeks and Team Trump wants to take 6 weeks and use it for propaganda, well, that's their prerogative. He's not going to stop them from doing it. Again, he's making the decisions on this case. So he does not want this case appealed or overruled, that he was overly restrictive of testimony. He's going to let more testimony in than being too restrictive. The outcome is going to be the Four of Wands. In the end of the day, really what this is that it doesn't really matter what they're doing. They've already been found guilty. Now it's just a dollar amount. And again, I think Trump.org is going to be facing a lot of money. I think I said $500 to $600 million. Maybe it's between 4 and 6. Call it $500 million plus or minus $100 million. What's $100 million between friends? But again, this case is just going to be systematic. Expect Team Trump is going to continue to bring in experts and such to try and say how valuable the properties were, how insightful Donald Trump is, so on and so forth. And the judge will allow for those things to come in. Don't wring your hands in anxiety and worry. Remember, the judge has already ruled against them on the primary accounts. Now it's just wrapping up the loose ends before he determines the amount to be fined. So, a couple questions here. At least 3. Just a couple 4-carders on how Don Jr. felt his testimony went, how the Attorney General felt the testimony went, and then just ask, did Don Jr. perjure himself? Oh, there was an interesting bit in there. It's a little bit different than what Midas Touch reported on, where they were discussing the Trump spawn and their roles in the company. Let me see if I can find it on this article real quick here. Sorry for the delay. He said that he and his brother became asset managers because they decided not to do new deals while his father was president. So basically, he said we were just custodians. We didn't go looking for new deals. In the years before Trump was elected president, Jr., Eric, and Ivanka were on the ground running their own projects with their own autonomous roles. In 2007, let's see. He said, walking through the work he and his siblings did before Trump became president, he said, we worked collectively, but each one of us had our collective bucket. So he's basically saying we all worked together on things. So if any of this case took place before Trump was in office, and any of this case is saying the fraud was committed before Trump was in office, Junior just said Ivanka's equally guilty and culpable as Eric and myself are. Now I don't know what the date range is for the properties here. I think it's after 2014. If that's the case, Don Jr. just pushed Ivanka under the bus with. He pulled her, put his arm around her, and dragged her under the bus with him. What a lovely family! My God. Oh, that's another question asked. Did Junior intentionally? Let's start off with that one. Did Junior intentionally drag Ivanka under the bus with him? 4 of coins. He's holding on for dear life. Keeping things close to the vest, trying not to expose himself. There's your false friend right there. Yeah, I think he purposely pulled her in. She's trying to separate herself from this group, and he pulled her right back in, saying, she's not innocent. She was involved in this too. We were all making decisions together on this. Oh yeah, pair of twos here. Yeah, he saw her testimony, and he wasn't going to let her get off scot-free. He dragged her in. Oh, what a lovely family. So, yes, that was, again, assuming that the dates are such, if Ivanka can be dragged in, he's dragging her in. He's not going to let her push the 3 of them, Eric Jr. and Sr. under the bus. He's going to drag her along too. What a bunch of snakes. God. Okay. Well, that's who they are. All right. How did Don Jr. feel his testimony went? Back to the regularly scheduled reading here. How did Junior think his testimony went? Aren't you glad y'all don't lie and break the law and commit fraud and all that stuff? You don't have to deal with all this? What an unnecessary... What a complication this was popping out. It's karma. It's, this is the way it is with them. This is just the way it is with them. They make life so drama. They kind of just had a bunch of money and... Okay, how do you think his testimony went? Oh, I think he thinks he did really, really well. I think he scored a lot of points. Probably made Dad proud of him, too, after the debacle that was the testimony a couple weeks ago. Yeah, he's trying to salvage things and make it a love fest for Team Trump here. Got the 4 of Swords. He's already gone through the cross, so now it's time for him to relax. This is probably after his testimony. He had time to reflect, work with the lawyers to perfect his testimony when he went up on defense. I think he realized he was not prepared, and they worked on preparing him are trying to put him in a situation where he could do better. He's still nervous. He's nervous about what he's saying. They kept things at kind of a narrow scope, but he was very concerned about, being held accountable for that. He, like the cross, for instance, is really has him nervous because he may not have the answers that he wants. Ooh, disappointment, heartbreak. I think this is going back to Ivanka's testimony. Hearing Ivanka just basically, disassociate herself from this whole thing. He was dragging her back. She is not, again, there's that Two of Wands again. He was not going to let her get away with this. If they're going to prison, they're all going to prison together as a happy family. Did he do all right? I think he was a little nervous. He may not be fully confident with his answers, but he had time to prep, and he was driven by Ivanka's testimony. He wasn't going to let her get away with it. Basically, if your last name is Trump or Kushner, or if your maiden name was Trump, just because you have a Y chromosome doesn't mean you have to go to prison. The gal with the double X can go too. It's kind of like, all three kids busting into a box of chocolates, and Ivanka left first, and then when the parents came home, they caught Junior and Eric with chocolate all over their faces. And Ivanka may have stopped eating before they did, and they ate more. She's trying to say, "Oh, I had nothing to do with that," and they're like, "No, you ate some too. Come on in, get your punishment." Okay. How does the Attorney General feel today's testimony went? Well, not so much, they're not worried about the testimony. Are they confident in their case after the team Trump was adding stuff that was irrelevant, and the judge just let him do it, but kind of signaled to them that he understands what's relevant and is not relevant? Did that give him any confidence? Page of Pentacles, I think they understand the judge is offering a bone to the other team. And it's not a big bone. It's a small bone. It's a burden because, they've done so much work on this. They don't want it undone because the judge is being overly generous with Team Trump. But I think they also understand that the judge has to throw some bones to the Trump lawyers, or else there could be some interpretation of bias. Now, I guess the thing is, if the prosecutor's always following the law and following court instructions, and the other team isn't, matter of fact, they're going out of the way to be obnoxious about it, compromising, you're not compromising the center, you're now compromising way on the side of Team Trump. But I think, again, the evidence is so overwhelming, and it's a documents case, really. There's just documents. There's all sorts of paper, and the paper and the signatures aren't lying. So let them come up with their fairy tale story. You've done the hard work. It's not going to impact things. And it might actually provide some additional information to the prosecutors that they weren't aware of. Certainly, they'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. They'll make it through this. But I do wonder, oh, ouch. I do wonder if during the testimony, there's more information that is let out. Basically, you let them start talking, and they just start confessing to more crimes. Underneath this all, the judge is offering a bone. He doesn't want the case brought down. He just doesn't want the case brought down. He doesn't want it overturned. He doesn't want it overruled and a retrial done and stuff like that. So he will err on the side of being overly generous to Team Trump, but he will be generous to both sides. So you can't argue You can't argue there was a bias against the Trumps, but if you're going to let Trump run wild, he'll let the prosecutors run wild too. The prosecutors just happen to be a bit more disciplined. Okay. Did Junior commit perjury during his testimony? You can think of that hermit card as being either like perjury or committing crimes. In other words, so did Junior commit perjury or accidentally reveal other crimes that if the prosecutors, when they review his testimony, they can research and bring out? I think once he's done with cross, he's done, unless they bring him back on the stand. Okay. Did Junior... There's some secrets. There's some stuff that doesn't... I think he said some stuff that didn't make sense. And they noticed the discrepancy. I think there's a discrepancy here. He might have committed perjury. Lying by omission or just plain lying. Let's see. Got a celebration. Oh, it's about the monies. Ooh, ouch. There's that card on the bottom again. There's something that happened here that doesn't add up. And it has to do with, maybe it was that bit there said, Donald Trump wasn't involved in any deals whatsoever. That was one of the testimonies. It was just Eric and Junior, and Donald Trump wasn't involved in any deals. That could be a very problematic testimony if it's shown that Trump was involved in new deals, and it might be evidence that either wasn't introduced or something. It might be something that Junior doesn't know that they know, like building a hotel in the middle of the desert, or secret conversations he had with Putin about a Trump hotel in Moscow or something along those lines. We've got the celebration, the raising of cups, the cheers, parties. Did he commit perjury? Again, there's some confusion and some mystery here. I think he put himself in a bad position. Was it trying to drag Ivanka in there? He might have done something. This is either about deals, or maybe he was trying to drag Ivanka in there. But something in his testimony doesn't add up. And I think it really does involve Trump and his deals. And the prosecutors are going to catch it. They're going to catch like new deals that he was involved in that maybe Trump admitted to, that they've got the goods. So keep an eye on that one. I don't know if I mean, a lot of my court experience, other than I sat on a civil trial a number of years ago, was watching Emily D. Baker. And if you don't know who that is, she does a podcast called The Emily Show. And she's a lawyer, former prosecutor, and she was doing, when I watched her was during the Johnny Depp trial. And she's really, really entertaining. And just, learning about, the examinations and cross-examinations and what questions you can ask and what ones you can't ask, so on and so forth. So like during, when you're bringing the person up for testimony, you can ask them open-ended questions. But during cross-examination, you can only ask like yes/no questions. You don't ask open-ended questions. You ask yes/no questions, that sort of thing. So I'm wondering if the prosecutors end up calling, if they catch him in a perjury trap of some sort, they might call him back to the stand for some follow-ups. I think they're allowed to do that. Okay. I don't know who's next on this one. What's, again, just a little four-carter, what's next? What can we expect next out of this trial? Just at a high level. And then we'll call it quits at this point. Or will we? Actually, I have one question before I do that one. May not do that one. How does Ivanka feel? When Ivanka hears Junior's testimony, how is she feeling about that? Let's get a little bit into the gossipy, juicy stuff, right? Oh, I didn't like that. She didn't like that. I mean, I think she thought she managed to separate himself from the three, and he's trying to bring her right back in there. She's not real happy about that comment. Because he took that action on his own. That's like a crack in the facade. And she might have started it by getting herself out of the case originally, but he came in. Yeah, she tried to get out. She is trying to get out of this thing. She is not happy because she thought she had walked away, and then he's dragging her back in. His very own sister. How dare she? How dare he? Excuse me. She may not say anything about it. I think she's just going to try and slip away into the night. Look at these cards of her trying to get away with things. I don't think she thinks it was a strong play on his part. This is minor stuff. I think she feels like she's done enough that this thing right here, his big play is small potatoes. That's kind of my thought on it. She's not real happy. Again, I don't think she's real happy about it. She may not forget it anytime soon. He may not get a Christmas card this Christmas for that maneuver right there. And she won't. She probably won't forget it anytime soon. But I think she also doesn't think it's that big of a threat right now. All right. Now, what can we expect next out of this case? What's next? Anything in general spirit. Last one. Here we go. Entertainment purposes and all that. King of Cups. Gonna be something about the judge. Judge's decision, judge's rulings. Something about the judge. What do we got? Seeing the evidence, light, truth. Ooh. Oh, wow. Wow. What are we going to... this is about the judge and the things he holds valued in this case. I think... like 3 major arcana underneath, sitting under the judge. The judge is very concerned about... He doesn't want this case lost. He is absolutely not wanting to lose this case or have it overturned. He knows that Donald Trump is a chaos agent, and you've got truth versus fiction, reality versus fantasy, and Donald Trump is the center of this. This is the sun being eclipsed by the moon, and here's the sun. So he wants all the evidence in there so that when he makes his decision, makes his judgment, he can show that one side presented the facts that were truth and the other side presented the fantasy that was false. And when he rules fairly and honorably, and the right amount of money is taken to go with his judgment. That's actually a really cool ending to this. Did not see that coming. Holy smokes, that's a quite a combo of cards there, huh? All right. Anyways, so to sum up, Trump Jr. thought he did okay. Wanted to drag Ivanka down with him. How dare she try and get out of it? Prosecutors might have found some inconsistencies with his testimony that might bring him back up later. Ivanka's not real happy with Junior dragging her under the bus with him, although she maybe thinks that it's just a minor scrape and not a flesh wound. And the judge is really concerned about this case, and he wants to demonstrate that he has followed the facts and the realities of it and has awarded compensation accordingly. Okay. Thank you for supporting my channel and watching this video. Thank you for your likes, shares, and comments and everything you do to feed YouTube so that my the algorithm so that my video makes it out to a wider range of viewers. I can almost talk. To the new viewers to this channel, welcome to the channel. I hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.